Hello and welcome back to the Flow Lane podcast. I am your host, Emma Maidment, and this is an episode of my brand new series, Business, Brand and Babies, where we dive into the real behind the scenes of what it actually looks like to chase dreams and raise babies at the same time. This is the space where we talk honestly about building businesses, nurturing personal brands, navigating motherhood, and holding it all with as much grace, mess, and flow as we can. Today's guest is someone who embodies this so beautifully, Dr. Lucy Harvey, a chiropractor, business owner, and passionate advocate for holistic family wellness. Lucy is the director of Total Health Chiropractic, where she and her husband lead a growing network of over 30 chiropractic clinics around Australia and New Zealand. Her journey into chiropractic care started at just 12 years old after a spinal injury and chronic headaches led her to discover the power of holistic healing. That experience completely transformed her understanding of health. And then that, added on with her experience in motherhood, has ultimately led to the work that she now does today, helping mothers, babies, and families live more connected, balanced lives. In this conversation, Lucy and I go deep on what it's really like running a business alongside your partner. We don't hold back. The power of choice in motherhood and business. How we structure our weeks around life, not the other way around. Why choosing to work can actually make you a better mother, and so much more. Whether you're a mum in business, dreaming of starting something new, or simply navigating how to hold both ambition and presence, I know this conversation will leave you feeling inspired, grounded, and seen. Let's dive in. Welcome to The Flow Lane with Emma Maidment, the podcast for anyone ready to create a life of alignment, freedom, and flow without burning out. I'm Emma, a wellness entrepreneur, author, renowned yoga and meditation teacher, and business coach who's passionate about helping you live fully and intentionally. Each week, we'll explore how to reconnect with your purpose, live in alignment, and build a life that feels as good as it looks. From mindset shifts and practical strategies to navigating life's challenges to building your dream freedom-based business, this podcast is your guide to finding flow in every area of life. If you're ready to let go of overwhelm and step into a life of purpose, ease, and possibility, then you are in the right lane. Let's dive in. Welcome to the podcast, Dr. Lucy. So excited to have you here.
Thank you, Emma. So happy to be here. I love listening to your episode, so I'm so happy to be a part of it.
And we've been working together now for quite a while, and it's been so incredible to have a front view of your journey, your evolution, motherhood, business, all the things. So it's actually like really exciting and also kind of weird to talk to you in this way because I'm so used to our like mentoring chats, and it's like, yeah, it's cool to shine the spotlight on you. So thanks for being brave and showing up.
No, thank you. I'm excited and I'm excited to see where these tangents will go because we do have some pretty funny chats that start off as coaching and end up on a complete random tangent about kids, nervous system, and everything in between.
Yeah, and I love that you actually mentioned that because it's funny, you go to someone for a specific, you want to grow a business, you want to grow a brand, whatever it is, and you forget that it's everything else that actually makes that up. It's not just, having a strategy and executing a strategy. It's also how is your nervous system? How are you showing up as a parent so that you don't resent that business and that brand? And it's actually just like an accidental, excellent segue into this podcast. So this is a new series that I'm doing where I'm speaking with mums that are essentially, I don't like the word balance or juggle. I like to say dancing in the realm of businesses, brands, big aspirations and dreams, as well as wanting to be present and connected mums. And I think it's such an interesting space that we're in this modern landscape with the internet and all the things, the opportunities that we have to be able to, work from home. And all these things sound great, but the reality of them when you genuinely still have 2 children to look after, or 1, 2, however many kids you have, is often challenging. So we're kind of peeling back the veil of the Instagram shine and getting into the nitty-gritty of what that really looks like. So you and your partner, your husband, you have 30 chiro clinics that you run. You're both chiropractors. You're working in the clinic. You've also this year really launched from, I guess, business into personal brand as well. that is a lot. Like when you read out your bio on paper, it's like, wow, she is doing a lot, and you have two children. So what is your version of, the juggle, the balance? Is it a dance? How do you kind of define this period of your life?
Great question. I think it's constantly evolving and it's always changing. So, for the last 2 weeks, my second baby, he's actually been sleeping really well. So, I feel quite on top of things at the moment. But if you had have asked me this 2 weeks ago, I wouldn't have even known where to start. I probably couldn't have even found the words. So, I guess why I'm saying that is that it's always changing. And as much as it is a cliche that this season will pass or it's just a phase of motherhood, it is so true. And so I find, especially now that I'm probably through the thickest part of those trenches with like a young baby, uh,
I know what's coming.
yeah, and then like it's going to change to tantrums and other meltdowns and nervous system regulation for that age group. But yeah, I find that just acknowledging that the weeks change all the time and doing what you can manage in that time, asking for help when you can, I think that all supports the juggle and the dance that is motherhood, business, and branding.
Yeah, it is. I mean, that's a good title for this. I like that. But it is, it feels like you're kind of holding a lot of balls in the air. And I love what you said there about every day is different. And same, if you had have asked me 3 weeks ago, I would have been like, I am in survival mode. There is a lot going on. I'm just feeling like I'm treading water. And I think, I don't know about you, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I know for me, I get quite frustrated when I'm like full of ideas and I want to do all the things and I want to execute on like a million different things. But you also have to manage your capacity. And it's something I feel that I've gotten a lot better at is flexing the no muscle and the boundaries on like, whilst I want to say yes to that, and whilst it would be amazing to fly over there and do this thing, actually that would put such a strain on my family, and having to, I guess, balance the decisions through that lens of what season am I currently navigating? How sleep deprived am I? What's going on for the family as a unit? But then also wanting to do the things, for you and your career. What lens do you look at it through? Do you have a way of defining or ranking things as being like most important priorities? How do you kind of approach, I guess, the opportunities and the things that you could be doing based on what needs to be done in terms of looking after children and managing a household, and then, your desires and what you really want to be doing?
Good question. That's something I've been weighing up a lot over the last few months, even probably since I went back to practicing. I only go into practice now 2 days a week, whereas before I had kids, I was in there 5 or 6 days a week, and that's just not achievable. And it's actually not what I want to do anymore. Obviously, once you have kids, for most people, they just become your whole life. So you do hopefully want to spend a lot of time with them. But definitely after my second child, I found that I did want to go back to practicing, and I did want to like look into this other side of myself and this other purpose that I have, which is supporting families in my practice. So what was achievable for me was to do the 2 days a week. And what aligns with our family's values is spending as much time with our kids as we can. So realistically, doing any more than the 2 days, it would have taken away from our time, our quality time with the kids. So that's how I've managed that. And yes, there's so many other projects that I would love to be doing right now, but I guess I just have to tell myself that the time will come for those. And like I know you've mentioned before about your book tour as well, like you would love to do that differently, but it didn't align with your family values in that time. So keeping some ideas to the side. And I guess overall, it's really just doing the things that light me up and not spending extra time on jobs that I used to do because I felt like I had to do them, and just spending time on, the things that I really love doing and that fulfill me. And in that same vein, things like housework that, I don't love doing. Yes, I love a tidy house and I love home cooked meals, but again, if I want to be working in the practice and on my personal brand, I don't always have time to keep the house as perfect as I used to. And so I do outsource some of those things when it's appropriate as well, and that helps.
Yeah, I think that's the big misconception, that maybe online we don't see, but that the help that it takes to make these things happen, that, obviously you don't run 30 chiro clinics all day, every day. You're not on the phone, right? You've got receptionists, team, like a whole infrastructure of people that run that business. And I think that we sometimes forget that a household and a family, it can be one in the same, and that actually it's okay to call in the help. You don't need to be the one that's deep cleaning the bathroom every week. For some people, maybe that's an outlet and they love it. I personally hate it. Favorite thing to do. I like a tidy home, but I do not like the cleaning side of it. I don't mind tidying, but far out. And so that's just a really simple, outsource of just, that's something that somebody else can do. That's their zone of genius. That's like their chosen, job, business, whatever, that I can then stay over here doing the things that are important for me. And I think that time management is so crucial because it's so fleeting. And the thing is, I think in the motherhood realm is that it's all good and well on paper to have a schedule, and then someone gets gastro and it's teething, and you're like, okay, so I had this like perfect plan in my mind and I had all the support and it was all amazing. And now it's all crumbling because suddenly like I've got 2 children screaming at me that are sick or whatever it is. And it's these massive curveballs that we get thrown in life 100%, but I feel like in motherhood, it's so much more frequent, that the change of the schedule and the being able to adapt to that. So going from someone that pre-kids, you were able to dedicate your life basically to work, to growing your business, working with your partner, all that kind of stuff, to then the curveball of 1 kid and then adding another one. How do you respond in those moments? Like, what do you do when you've got this game plan, you're doing all the things that light you up, and then someone vomits or, something happens and you're like, oh, my entire week is now curveball over here. Or, you go through a period of intense sleep deprivation. What are the things going on in those moments where it's not all flowing as you would prefer it?
I think what helps is, unfortunately, not what you do in that moment, but it's more of a build up over time. So the weeks and months leading into that crisis, that gastro or sleep deprivation. And often what I also say to mums in my practice is to go back to basics. So I feel like with social media and access to so much information, which is amazing, it's almost taken us away from those basic principles of eating good quality food, like nourishing meals, lots of protein and healthy fats, drinking plenty of water, getting as much rest as possible. And I say rest on purpose because we can't always control the sleep, exercising when we can, even when you don't feel like it. I feel like that builds a solid foundation so that when things do go the way, like how you just said, that, we've got those solid foundations to come back to and draw upon. Personally, obviously, I'm biased, but I'm a huge fan of chiropractic care because it not only helps me feel good in my body, which most people will think chiropractic is for, like back pain and postural issues, but I would say more importantly, it supports my nervous system. So when those moments of stress and panic set in, of someone's just vomited, I'm able to come back to a more regulated, sound nervous system as well.
Yeah, I think that is actually so important. And for me, it's something I'm also, as you know, so passionate about. And having those, it's almost like having reserves, it's like the backup gas tank where that you're not pushing depletion beyond the depletion zone and just zapping your adrenals. You're actually, okay, I've got a little bit left in the tank that I can draw on here before we hit total burnout zone. So other than, obviously, I'm also a massive fan of chiropractic care. I think it's so incredible as, obviously, yes, back pain, all these kinds of things, but also just as a maintenance for your nervous system. And I think the nervous system over the years is becoming more and more popular. People are becoming aware of what is my nervous system and how does it impact my day-to-day. But what are some other things that you really lean on for nervous system support outside of, having chiropractic treatments? Today's episode is brought to you by my very first book that has just launched, Find Your Flow. Are you stuck in a perpetual cycle of repeating the same patterns over and over? Do you know there's more to life than just following what you should do? Do you feel foggy in your mind, uninspired by your life? Are you sick of being in survival mode? Let go of your addiction to friction and drama with this practical personal development guide to freeing yourself from limiting beliefs. Learn how to respond to life rather than react, and move from surviving to thriving with me. I am so excited to release this book baby out into the world. Find Your Flow is available for pre-order now. Head to the show notes to grab your copy.
So I think, again, back to basics, getting out in nature, so being outdoors. And some of these might sound a bit cliche, and I probably thought that too, but it really does help for you and for your kids is to go barefoot on the grass, or we're lucky to be near the beach, so in the sand. So getting outdoors, that's my number one. Having a dance party, just basically shaking off that energy, that fight or flight, that stressful energy that you're carrying. They're great things that you can do quite quickly. And yeah, music always changes the energy and the mood of the household, I find. It really helps for witching hour. And when there's a tantrum, it's hard not to be distracted by a great song. And then when I have more time, I like to dedicate time to meditation and like taking that long hot bath, which I know isn't always easy. But if I can fit it in, I will. And I'll try and prioritize that actually, like at least once a week. Even if I feel like just sitting in bed and having a scroll on my phone, I'd rather take a bath and take that time out to really reset my nervous system.
Yeah, I think that's so great. And as you said, making the choice not to just scroll the phone, which is interesting because we are getting that like dopamine hit, right? So there is this draw to like, well, I feel good when I'm just laying there watching funny reels. And it's not to, shame anyone. We all do it. Like, let's not pretend. But I think having that awareness of what would better serve me in this moment and with this time that I have. So how do you manage time? Because obviously you've got a lot going on. I mean, you guys run your own business, so you're working with your partner on that, I guess, kind of at a, you're still involved in the day-to-day of the business. You're not like answering phones, but you are involved in the running of that company and the scaling of that company and all those things that come when you guys open a new location, all of that. He's obviously, handing a little bit more maybe of the day-to-day, putting out fires and things like that. But you're doing the same thing with toddlers and small humans. So how does that look time-wise? Like, how do you structure your weeks time-wise? And then how do the two of you balance that time in terms of the priority of the business versus, the family? And how does that kind of integrate into how both of you, all of you as a family, spread that time?
I love that question. And I feel like we're refining it over time. And initially, we didn't have very good time management or balance, or often my husband and I would feel resentful towards each other because one would have more time working, or I would hope that he would be home earlier to help with the kids, and vice versa. So now how we manage time the best is just with really clear communication. So we do a lot of tag teaming, which some parents won't like to hear that because I know the goal might be to spend time as a family all together, but it's just the way that it tends to work for us in terms of business and also self-care. So we typically kind of take a day each where I'll work one day and my husband will work the next day. And then we fit in exercise around that too. We're lucky to have some family support with the kids, so we utilize that when it will suit us best for our family's needs so that we can both get stuff done. So that's how we manage, most of our week, say Monday to Thursday. And then Friday to Sunday, we're a bit more flexible. So we might go and work or exercise for like 2 hours each, but we do prioritize that family time as well. And as you know as well, sometimes we have to stay up late and do a bit of work on the laptop, reply to emails. And that's just the only time we can get it done unless we took more time away from the kids, which we don't want to do at this stage.
Mm-hmm. I love that. It's very similar to us as well. And I think a lot of people and particularly a lot of mothers find that shocking as well, of like, hang on a second, dad can do the parenting as well, and actually like take that full day. Was it challenging at all for you, I guess having the desire to want to work? Because we could all choose to be a full-time, stay-at-home mum, right? And make that work. You might have to sacrifice a little bit financially or whatever it is, but if you really wanted to, there's ways and means to make that happen. But you're making a choice, right, to go back to work because it fills you up. And I won't put words in your mouth, but what was that like for you to make that choice? Was there any, I guess, guilt or expectation around what you thought it would look like before you had kids going into motherhood, and then what the actual reality of that is? And has that changed over time as you've added more children to the family?
Yes, definitely. It's changed a lot. So my oldest son, he's 4 years old, and I actually didn't plan on going back to work between the kids. So when I had him, I just thought I'm going to be a stay-at-home mom, and obviously having one child, and I will say he was a fairly easy baby. He napped at all the regular times. He slept well overnight. We had a really good routine. I was able to go out with him and do activities, clean in his nap time. Of course, we do have the business. Sometimes I would have to be on business mode, but I didn't really intend to go back into practice. Maybe because I think now I didn't know exactly what my passions were and what would light me up. Whereas now, after having the two kids, and I don't know if it's just life getting more hectic with two and kind of routine even going out the window, you'd think I would do the opposite. But for me, I guess I was like, I could actually take back some control here, and create some structure in our family's life by setting aside some time to work. And along the way, like I found what my passions were, which is supporting families, mostly because I've seen what it's done for my own family, especially for my two boys. So, yeah, maybe it was taking back some control in our routine that I thought I'm going to go back. And you asked how it was, did I have any guilt? And yes, I absolutely did, mostly because I had this story in my head that I would always be a stay-at-home mom, and that's exactly what I wanted to do, and that, doing activities with the kids is what lights me up, and that cooking home-cooked meals, that's all I ever want to do, and having a tidy house, like those were the things that I thought really fulfilled me. But I realized the longer I was doing it for, that this other part of me was almost missing. And so that took a lot for me to get my head around, that maybe I don't want to be a stay-at-home mom. And then I thought, does that make me a bad mom or a lesser mom because I want to go back to work? So yeah, I had a lot of thoughts around that. I didn't know how it would look. I thought, like, I'm going to be spending time away from the kids, which is that not ideal for their development? So yeah, I had every excuse under the sun, but for some reason, and probably with your guidance as well, I really just stuck with it and sort of pushed through that discomfort. And finally now I feel like I'm at a better place with our schedule and getting everyone in the family's needs met.
Do you think that working makes you a better mother?
For me, I do. Yeah. Yeah. Gives me another sense of purpose and passion. And I feel better on my mum days, which is every other day than my working days. And I also feel more present because I've got that outlet, and work for me can be a bit creative, and I'm socializing with mums and their kids. So yeah, I get to get out of the house. I get to get dressed up. So yeah, then I really appreciate my days at home more.
Yeah.
I'm smiling because like even the tantrums, yeah, I still appreciate it more.
I agree. I think having that, again, not like the word balance, but having that dance between the two is, I personally find the same. It's you get to have these creative outlets, you get to pursue the parts of yourself that still really feel relevant to who you are. And this is, I think, the big identity shift. We go into motherhood, we go through that matrescence period. It changes so much. It changes our values, it changes how we want to spend our time, but it also comes with a lot of expectations from other people, even from ourselves. As you said, I expected I wanted to be this like stay-at-home mum, and when I got deeper into that, I was questioning, do I actually want this? Is this what really, really lights me up? And I think the best thing is, we're in this world now where you can actually see the flexible options, where you can see the way to actually create something that's more family orientated and family driven. Like, I really feel like we're in this resurgence of like the family business, right? And being over here in Greece at the moment, you're seeing it firsthand of like, oh, like dad owns the building and the children, are now older, work in the cafe, and then their kids are helping. And it's like, okay, maybe that's a more traditional sense, but in our kind of like culture and with the internet and with personal branding and with all this kind of stuff, we have these opportunities to really lean into ways to work flexibly that overall as a family unit begins to thrive. And I think that's what we forget is like mum's the heartbeat of the home. And so if mum's doing the things that light her up, and my husband literally said this to me yesterday, I got invited to this last minute kind of meet up with a bunch of international women over here. And it was literally last minute. And I was like, oh, we kind of had plans to go to the beach. He's like, the beach is across the road from our house. Just go and get the coffee. Like, you always, you talk about this. You love meeting with other people. You love networking. I'm fine. Just go and do the thing. And that little push, then I came back so lit up. I love talking with other women and being out in the world and not doing that always with like, oh, hang on, let me just juggle my toddler who's just done something over there, or I'm being pulled away for snacks or whatever. It's actually so nice to just show up as you, as a mother. Like, we never, it's not like you're showing up as a different version of yourself, but it's just a different scenario, which I think is really fun to play in professionally. And, with the self-care and all that kind of stuff is also then showing the kids that what that can look like and living by that example. So how do you guys then, like, if you talked about your time balance between the two of you and that little bit of resentment that started to creep in, right? I just want to unpack that a little bit more, because I think it's really valuable for people to understand the challenges and the relationship dynamics, of you've kind of gone into this being like, yep, I want to be the stay-at-home parent, and your partner's like, cool, great, got that dialed in. And then something changes for you and you go through that period of you're not really sure what it is. He's probably not really sure why you're so off this idea that you wanted to do. And then there's that period of, all balancing out and the communication coming through. Great when you're on the other side and now you're in this beautiful flow. But what was it like in the trenches of that when you were really figuring out, because ultimately you were in a period of matrescence, right? When you're figuring out what actually really lights me up. What do I want to do? Do I want to do something professionally? Like, what does that look like? Can you just talk us through that and sort of like how you guys navigated that from a communications point of view when you really made that realization?
Well, it was really hard, actually. Like you said, if we think they're wondering, like, why is she like this? Or why is she thinking that or changing? And I don't know, I feel like I personally do have these change of heart or change of minds every couple of years, which that tracks with my two kids. And as we know how much we change after each child, I think that's been a surprise for me. After my second child, like, my wants and needs changed so much, and I probably didn't expect that. So yeah, that time was tricky. And we're in the trenches with like a new or young baby as well. So what did it look like? I think just taking the time for myself to realize what it was that I wanted to do, and writing things down and mapping it out, talking with friends or mentors about what that might look like. And lucky for me, I do have a very understanding husband, and we have created a life with our business that gives us great flexibility so that, my husband, Alex, he could cut back a little bit on work. That meant that I could return to practice and working a bit more. We started at the same time to change our team at work and, almost get some more support within the team that would allow us to step back when we needed. Because, like you guys, one of our family values is freedom. And as much as I'm saying I love work, we also love to travel. So we have been putting things into place that allows us to do that. So I guess overall what that allows us to do is, if I do want to spend more time at work, we can manage that. Or if it's getting a bit too much, Alex just needs to tell me, like, we need you home a bit more often. And obviously I can see that as well. I can see, like you said before, the mum is the heartbeat of the home. And I can see when my boys need a bit more regulation and when they need that directly from me. And so that week I might cut back a bit on commitments if I can. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think that's great. And it's just, I guess it just highlights that it's a constant reshuffling and a constant
Absolutely
of what's working, what's not working. And as each child goes through their developmental leaps and up levels, their needs are, are so different. And I think as well, for me, my youngest is just about to turn 2, and I'm noticing there's so much more independence in him now. I can leave him with his dad for hours, and
yeah.
to being on that constant, oh, he needs to feed every 45 minutes, or when they're little, and then we're still breastfeeding, but I guess we have the benefit of working from home, but also the challenge of working from home with children. And I know that you guys know that as well. It's again, it sounds like the dream, and it is. We've created our own lifestyle. You guys have done it too. Like, I'm not saying that this is not to complain, but it's also just to highlight that there are challenges in, firstly, boundaries around work and when you're having calls and things like that. And then also when you're in the office working and literally shit is imploding out the door, and you're like, oh, I'm supposed to be on my work right now, but can I go and help? And then you get pulled into helping, and then time, it's all beautiful on paper, but it is very much a dance. So I love that you guys have really been able to lean into team to help you with that. How important has boundaries been? Is that something that you've had to really lean into?
I was just going to say boundaries can be really hard. As you said, we almost say that we're too flexible with our work at times. It's a little bit different for me in practice because they're set hours and I have people booked in. But I know that my husband feels this more, and me too, if I'm working from the office on my content on my website, it's like we're a bit too flexible. Like, especially with 2 kids, if I want to put the baby down for his nap, I might say, hey, Alex, can you come and watch our toddler while he plays? And he's probably thinking, well, I'm meant to be working. But so it's the beauty of having the flexibility that I have another helper, but then it's like, oh, that's cutting into our work time. So yeah, boundaries are so important there. And I guess as well, coming back to clear communication, which we've learnt very slowly and over time. So now my husband will say, hey, I've got meetings at 10, 11 and 12, and I'll know not to bother him in that time. Or if he's helping me at 9, I know he has to wrap it up by 10 for his first meeting. And vice versa, even on a weekend, if I know that I'm a bit behind in my content, and if I think the family's all going well and I can take a little bit of time away, I'll just say, hey, I'm going to go down to the office for an hour and smash this out. Is that okay with everyone? And yeah, usually saying it that way, it helps everyone. Yeah, one thing that we both do that's not great is like go on our phones or look at our phones and try to get some work quickly done or reply to emails when we're with the family. But we found that if we just say, hey, I want to do these 1, 2, 3 things, I need about 30 minutes or 60 minutes or whatever it is, then that helps us so much more because we're both on the same page. The person who wants to get stuff done gets it done, and the other one knows we won't be long and we'll be back.
I love it. That's actually so valuable, and it's something that we've had to implement as well, because we're also, a lot of our people that we work with, a lot of our clients are in Australia or the US. So often I'll wake up and I'm an entire day behind messages and people I need to get back to and emails and stuff. And the type of person that I am likes to be on top of things. And so the first thing when I after I've, done my bit of a morning routine and I just quickly check my phone, I'm like, oh, there's a lot I need to get back to. And then it's straight away, it's on my mind. And so that used to really annoy me. If I was in mum mode that day, I'd be thinking about it and I'd be trying to almost sneak away from the kids to just quickly reply to something. And
which they can tell.
Yeah, right. You can tell in the background, you're hearing it screaming, like, okay, babe, I'm just going to give you something. Meanwhile, they're like, but now, my husband said to me, he was like, he keeps having to remind me, we live really flexibly. So if you need that time, ask for it and put boundaries around it. Don't disappear for 3 hours, but if you need to respond to some voice messages that's going to take you 20 minutes. Say, I'm going into the room and literally lock the door so that you're off parenting duty. You can do that task and then come back. And I think that's maybe a little bit more challenging for mums because we're so used to this idea of multitasking and doing all the things
Yes.
once, but it's like I can quickly reply to this whilst I'm making dinner, whilst I'm like, tending to a tantrum, and it's okay sometimes to a point if you're in the chaos, but it's ultimately not ideal when you can almost kind of compartmentalize those little moments. I think the other difference, I don't know if you notice this, but I would say 90% of the people that I work with, their partner needs a solid amount of time to get work done, and then they can get really little things done super fast and efficiently. I don't know if that's the same for you and Alex, but do you find that you're so much more productive since becoming a mum in
Oh,
time?
yes, of course. Like 1000% yes. You just don't have any extra time. So the things that used to take you all day, you'll just smash it out in an hour. And if you write yourself a to-do list, you just tick them off. You're not going to spend time doing other things because you know that you're needed back inside. And also you want to spend time with the family. So you're going to get as much done in a really fast time as possible. So you're so much more efficient as a parent.
Yeah, I agree. So do you think that it is possible to have it all? And what does that look like for you?
Do I think it is possible? I think it is possible in a different way. So I think, as I said before, like outsourcing things that I used to do before, that's been a game changer for me. So yes, we can have the home cooked meals. I'm really lucky. My sister is a chef and she really loves whole foods as much as me. So I thought, how can I utilize that? And she cooks us a meal. So I still have the home cooked meals, but I'm not spending hours in the kitchen doing it. And that's something that is still aligned with our values and works for our family. So that's one example. So do I think you can have it all? I think you can have it all in a different way. I think you do have to prioritize and work out what really lights you up and what your passions are, because you don't want to be spending time on the fluff. And for me, especially, if I spend a day working on stuff that doesn't light me up, I just come home in such a bad mood and I'm so grumpy and I'm not present with the kids then. So I think you can have it all if you prioritize the things that you love and if you work out your family values and what's going to suit you and align to you in this season of life.
I love that. Beautiful. We have our family values literally written up on our fridge. We revisit them all the time. Trying to instill
So good.
little progress.
I also think, like you said before, a bit about being in the chaos and that kind of multitasking, and I totally see that for myself and for so many mums in my practice as well. We do want to do it all, but it's really not healthy for the nervous system. And you've also mentioned that mum is the heartbeat of the home. So when mum's stressed or in fight or flight mode, which is, by the way, that multitasking, like doing 5 things, got 20 tabs open in their mind, as much as it feels productive, it's actually not valuable for the family unit. And if you're in fight or flight or that stressed out mode, then the whole family feels that. And you might even notice, or that might resonate with you, that when you're feeling stressed, your toddlers have more meltdowns or they're not sleeping as well, because there's this disconnect between the whole family. And I do believe that that starts with the mum and with our nervous system and that regulation. So I feel like that is a really important point.
Yeah, I think so. And I think that's like the cornerstone of quote unquote having it all, is that you can
100%.
have it all, but it's behind the scenes if the family's nervous system isn't regulated within that.
Yeah, totally.
So big. Okay. I love this conversation. I love the work that you are doing in the world. And I think it's so important. And I'm actually just like so proud of you watching you step into that, having a behind the scenes view to see someone, people will see you now on social media, and I'll link all of your stuff below. And there's so much value in the knowledge that you have, the way you live your life, all of that kind of stuff. But watching you personally really step into that and how that has had such a positive impact on your family and your mothering is really, really beautiful. And I think it's such an example of clear boundaries and that quote unquote, like having it all based on making really clear choices around what lights you up, what doesn't, and what serves this season of life. So I think that you're a really great example of that. And I hope you feel really proud of everything that you have achieved and are going to continue to achieve. And as you move into these next seasons, I mean, who knows what it's like when you have a 10-year-old and a 12-year-old? Like, what does that even look like? I don't know.
Who knows? I guess we'll see when the time comes. But thank you so much for that. That was really kind.
Yeah. So thanks for coming on and having this chat. I'm going to pop all of your details in the show notes below, so people can connect with you. And particularly, you know, if you are pregnant or postpartum or even just like navigating mum life, go and check out all of Lucy's resources. She's got some really amazing stuff. I just want to end with, if you could give one piece of advice to a mum that's you like 10 steps before, right? So just about to step into motherhood, still loving their career or their business or whatever they're doing, and they're listening to this going, oh gosh, is it all going to fall apart? And what is it going to look like? What advice would you give that woman? Would you give, you know, pregnant you with your first child, looking down the barrel of all that's to come?
I think I would tell you that everything is about to change in a good way, and, you know, in a different way as well. Your life will change. Your desires will change when it comes to career and family life. You might think that you know what you want to do, but it's ever changing. And as you go through all of the different phases of motherhood, things will change, and that's okay. I think that one thing that stands out to me and that I wish all mothers would do is just take time at different points. So, you know, once a week or once a month, sit down on your own, either meditate or just spend some time out in nature and write down the things that you're enjoying in motherhood, the things that light you up, the things that you love about your little one and about spending time with them, and maybe the things that you don't love. And that might help you narrow it down as to what you want to do next. And, you know, if there's things you really don't enjoy doing, can you outsource them so that it gives you more time and freedom to do the things that you love? I think if you're too busy in the chaos of mum life, you're just not going to become clear on those goals.
I love that. That's beautiful advice. Thank you so much, and we'll speak soon.
Thanks, Emma. I always love chatting with you.
Thank you so much for joining me today. If you like this episode, please jump into my DMs, jump into Lucy's DMs, have a conversation, share your key takeaways with us. We love hearing from you and what you guys thought about the episode. And if you want to send this to someone who you know would benefit for it, please do that now. And make sure you rate and review the show, because as you know, it helps me reach more people and continue going on the goals that I have for this podcast. I will be back again in your ears soon.